You did it, DC. I'm so proud of you.
From the old movies of 30 years ago and beyond,
to the world of the new films of the last 30 years.
To the movies that are now playing, this is Old, New, and Now Playing. And now, here's your host, Will Robinson Smith.
Hello and welcome to Old, New, and Now Playing, your time machine through the world of movies. And it is summertime and the living is pretty sweaty, actually, not gonna lie. It's kind of humid up here in North Alabama and just missing the dry heat of California just a lot a bit. But hang on, we're not talking about weather, not today, no sir. This is not the Weather Channel. Today we're talking about the most iconic female superhero getting a great big screen treatment. So now let's get into the review. This is your feature presentation. Wonder Woman's iconic run in comic book form goes back over 75 years when she first appeared in 1941. She was created by William Moulton Marston, who took inspiration from both his wife Elizabeth and Olive Byrne, with whom they shared a polyamorous relationship. It was something enormously controversial for the time and a closely guarded secret. The image of Wonder Woman is a combination of both suffragists of the early 1900s and the Vargas girls that appeared in Esquire magazine, according to Jill Lepore, author of The Secret History of Wonder Woman. And to be perfectly honest, there are a lot of people that are much more steeped in the lore of Wonder Woman than I am, and if you really want a good deep dive into her history and creation, highly suggest the Screen Junkies news breakdown of her history. So I'll let them talk about that. Let's you and I talk about the movie. So Wonder Woman is a period piece that deep dives into her origin story, springboarding off of the Image and Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice that shows her in the World War I era clothes and perplexes Batman. Diana, played by Gal Gadot, grows up on the island of Themyscira, an island of only Amazonian women, which was originally called Paradise Island until George Perez stepped in to helm the Wonder Woman comics in 1987. There, Diana is the daughter of the island's queen, Hippolyta, played by Connie Nielsen, who tries to shield her from realizing her true power, but eventually agrees to train her with some convincing by her sister Antiope, played by Robin Wright. Eventually, a man named Steve Trevor, played by Chris Pine, crash lands on the island and tries to convince the Amazons to help defeat the Germans and end the war to end all wars. So if you couldn't tell, I had a lot of fun with this movie, and it kind of reminded me of Logan in the sense that it felt like a movie that wasn't constrained by the fact that it was based on a comic book character. The fact that the movie chose World War I as a backdrop was a great choice. Even though this movie is part of the larger DC extended universe, it really allowed Wonder Woman to feel like she was completely unique and stood by herself as a superhero. Not only that, but having a film set during the period in which the women's suffrage movement was about to lead to the 19th Amendment in the US really felt like the right time for Diana Prince to become a hero. Also, allowing her to enter the greater world during World War I gives Wonder Woman the unique opportunity to experience humanity as a foil for itself. And watching her grapple with that is a key part of her storyline and a big part of why the movie is great.
We are going anyway.
You mean you were lying?
This movie is also really important because it broke a lot of barriers. Patty Jenkins is only the second female director to get a budget of over $100 million. It's the biggest opening domestically for a female director ever. It's the fourth highest superhero origin story according to Screen Junkies. And for those watching the DC Extended Universe very closely, it's the first film to hit certified fresh on Rotten Tomatoes. Big deal for this universe going forward. And a lot of credit has to go to Patty Jenkins and the creative team behind this movie. Jenkins' only other feature was 2003's Monster, which cost about $8 million and pulled in about $34.5 million domestically. It also gave star Charlize Theron her first and only Academy Award to date for Best Actress. As someone who did not grow up as a massive Wonder Woman fan, I thought that Jenkins, though, did a really nice job of hitting the core of the character in a really accessible way for all audiences, and Gal Gadot phrased it in a really nice way to The Hollywood Reporter, saying, "We are all used to having male protagonists in movies directed by men, but the way Patty has captured the Wonder Woman character, she's very relatable to everyone. Boy, girl, man, woman, everyone can relate to her." On top of helping to bring the character to life in an accessible way, Jenkins and stunt coordinator Damon Caro, who has worked on stunts for all the DCEU films besides Suicide Squad, found a nice pace and style for the action. It added in elements that made it feel like a part of the bigger cinematic universe without feeling too overt. There were some great shot choices as well by cinematographer Matt Jensen, whose credits also include 2012's Chronicle and Game of Thrones. And obviously a well-executed movie doesn't come together without a well-rounded cast. On the casting front, this movie begins and ends with Gal Gadot. If she tanks, the whole thing goes down with her. And to be honest, I somewhat bought into the doubt of some critics about how her lack of lead experience in movies might play out here. But with a background of serving in the Israeli army, she handles the physicality of the character really well, and she plays off the supporting cast nicely. Gadot does a nice job of balancing the innocence of a person in a new world while also feeling naturally worldly because of how she was taught. It creates some great moments of comedy in the movie.
What is a secretary?
Ooh, well, I do everything. I go where he tells me to go and I do what he tells me to do.
Oh, well, where I'm from, that's called slavery.
I really like her.
Chris Pine was also a lot of fun in this movie. There were definitely some shades of Captain Kirk in here, but he never felt like he was pulling attention from Wonder Woman as the central character. I also want to talk about the mascara and all the great characters that are there, but kind of want to stay away from going into too much detail just because, in case you haven't seen the movie, don't want to go into too many spoilers in this video. The whole culture of the island has a great feel to it, and I thought that the main Amazons we interact with, Connie Nielsen and Robin Wright, were great lenses to see that world with. One other thing I definitely want to touch on though is the use of music in this movie, and I think that's actually an area where DC has a leg up over Marvel because I really have been enjoying their use of constant themes for their characters, and it creates a nice through line, an audible through line for all of their movies. When the theme for Wonder Woman kicks in during certain scenes, man, it really pumps you up and makes you root for the character that much more. The only real faults that I found with this movie is that it kind of overplayed the use of slow-mo in their action sequences, and not to give anything away, but the ending shot felt a little hokey to me, but honestly, I'm kind of reaching. There wasn't really much wrong with this movie at all. The pacing felt really good, the chemistry between the main and the side characters felt cohesive, and there was a constant tone throughout. And while there is a singular bad guy, as with pretty much every superhero movie, it felt less important than the growth of Diana and understanding how to grapple with the world and her place in it. I gave Wonder Woman a 9 out of 10. It's probably going to make my top 10 list by the end of the year, and really deservedly so. So those are my thoughts on Wonder Woman. When you've had a chance to see the movie, I want to hear what you thought about it, and what's another female superhero that you feel deserves the big screen treatment, bearing in mind, though, that Joss Whedon is already doing Batgirl, and Gotham City Sirens is already in a slate somewhere down the road for DC at some point. Going back to the Wonder Woman creator for just a moment, a biopic about him is actually in the works right now and may be released later this year. It's called Professor Marston and the Wonder Women and stars Luke Evans, Rebecca Hall, and Bella Heathcote, so keep your eyes peeled for that. That will do it for this episode of Old, New, and Now Playing. I am your host, Will Robinson Smith. If you like this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. That would be great. If you want to follow me on social media, I'm on Twitter and Instagram at W_Robinson Smith. And if you want to watch some of my past reviews, we got that link right here. Down here, I started a vlog series, so you want to check out episode 1 right down here. Episode 2 on the way very, very soon. Thank you as always for watching, and I will see you next time.